What is going on, everybody? It is the PrizePicks Prop Show here on Wednesday at FTNDaily.com. My name is Zach Graham, aka Kawaisenberg DFS, joined by my good buddy Alex Blickle because it is Masters Week. So we're going to talk some prize picks, some underdog, maybe sprinkle some NBA picks in there along the way. But Alex, how you feeling this morning, man?
I'm not sure I've ever been more excited for a show than this one. You and I do a lot of shows. This one's going to be a blast.
Yeah, I'm pumped, man. So before we get to both sites, we'll take a look at the NBA tool again in the middle of this stream. Just want to remind everybody of a few things first. Of course, if you have not signed up yet at PrizePicks, you can do so using the promo code FTN. That's going to get you a 100% deposit match bonus up to $100. And of course, we'll talk UD here. But if you go over to Underdog Fantasy right now, or you can just scan the QR code that's on the screen, use that promo code FTN at sign up. You'll get that same 100% deposit match bonus up to $100. And if you download the Sleeper app, you can use that same promo code, same 100% deposit match, but up to $500 over at Sleeper. So take advantage of all these offers. Then head over to FTN where, Alex, you see that record on the screen. We haven't updated it since yesterday, so just wanted to break down between the two sports that you and I have been tackling here. We are 60.4% on our NBA picks. That's 116 and 76. A little 500 night last night. A little frustrating for us, but MLB off to a hot start, 32 and 19, 62.7%. So we're 60.9 over the last, 7-8 weeks here. It's been pretty good.
It's been really good. It's been a lot of fun. We've gotten some 6-pick plays, all hitting in the Pick'em Discord over at FTN Daily, including, by the way, the third night that we did a 6-pick play of the day. We got that 25-1 hit. That's a lot of fun. We're going to continue to do that all week long. And we got a bunch of 6-pick plays ready for you guys today on this show as well.
Yeah, so let's not waste any more time. Let's get into some of this PGA talk here. And one thing, obviously, I think, two-time Golf Writer of the Year, at least one of those titles in there. Me,
two-time nominee, one-time winner, yeah.
There you go. We get it straight here. So me, not a very experienced golf guy, especially when it comes to the props. One thing I noticed is right now, at least between PrizePicks and Underdog, some significant differences here in terms of the offerings. And I imagine PrizePicks will post more the closer we get to Thursday morning. But what are some of the differences that our subscribers should be looking for when they go between the two sites?
The easy one is line shopping, right? Like it's probably not called line shopping when we're talking about pick'em games, but the concept is still the same thing. On PrizePicks, you can see right here on the screen, we've got 2.5 birdies or better for both Tiger Woods and Phil Mickelson. Go over to Underdog, they're both at 3.0. And Tiger's boosted to the under. If you take less than 3.0 birdies or better for Tiger Woods on Underdog, you get 1.1x multiplier on that. So Tiger and Phil more than 2.5 on PrizePicks. Tiger and Phil less than 3.0 on Underdog. It's a great way to start. And then, you also get a little bit of correlation there, which I know you're going to ask me how to do some PrizePicks and Underdog research for PGA. It's a little bit difficult. So we'll talk about that too. But the big thing behind that is a lot of the time the answer is we don't always know. And so getting that correlation, saying they're both going to go more, they're both going to go less. And if the course plays easy, great. If the course plays difficult, great.
So I guess leading into that, right? How are you doing your research for all this? Because again, we talk about the differences. We're going to go to Underdog here in a little bit, and they have just, 20 props up for Tiger tomorrow. So how do you sift through all of this information? Give us a little bit of insight into your process here.
The starting point is our guy, Josh Culp, helps me out so much, gets me some really fantastic data, including the fact at Augusta National, players average 3.25 birdies or better per round. They're averaging 4.08 bogeys or worse per round, 9.5 fairways hit, and 11.0 greens in regulation per round. So that's the average historically. Now, there are some players who are better than the average player. There are some players who are worse than the average player. So that's going to change things. And then, of course, you also get weather conditions and just the overall conditions of the golf course. It sounds like the greens are really firm. We know wind gusts are going to be up to 35 miles per hour tomorrow. So I want to kind of say, you know what? It's going to be really difficult for these players consequently, PrizePicks has given these like 2.5 birdies or better props for Tiger and Phil. Without the wind, they would probably be 3.0, 3.5 on PrizePicks, and Underdog might even have them at 4.0. So we don't want to overreact and just say, they're guaranteed to go under because it's going to play difficult. We want to look at how PrizePicks and Underdog have the different lines. And then if you want to get really crazy, what I did this morning was I went Google Maps, figured out, all right, what hole is in the north direction? What holes are in the south direction? Where's the wind blowing? Because specifically, I wanted to know whether the par fives, the scoring holes, number 2, number 8, number 13, and number 15, are they downwind? In which case, the 35 miles per hour, great. Give us those short par fives. Give us those 4 easy birdie opportunities. They're not downwind. They're crosswind. One is downwind early in the morning, and then in the afternoon when Tiger tees off, it's going to be more of a crosswind. 13 and 15 both either into or crosswinds. And actually in the morning, I think 13 was like down and from the left, but that means your drive's going right into the trees. All of the par fives, the wind is going to make more difficult. So I typically would want to shade to the less than plays, but again, we've got 2.5 on PrizePicks for Tiger and Phil. So I'm going to take the more on those two guys and then go over to Underdog, take the less than on them there.
Okay. I like it. So I guess as we do that, right, do you want to maybe let's start off and build a play here on PrizePicks Underdog? I'll let you steer the ship here when we're talking PGA.
Absolutely. So the first thing I'll show you guys is if you take these two, nothing really happens. But if you now go to a third more, check out this payout, 4.75x, and you get this message, payout shift. Your payouts are different than the standard payouts as a result of this combination of players. What they're saying is, hey, you're trying to correlate too much. We're on to you. You're not going to get the standard 5x payout for this. If we went Rahm, instead of getting 10-1, look, now we're getting 8.5. If we added Rory, instead of getting 10-1, now we're getting 5x. So we really want to be careful about this. We don't want to over-correlate. We're going to stop at just these two, Tiger and Phil. And again, the reason why these are quote-unquote correlated, it's not that a Tiger Woods birdie makes it more likely that Phil is going to birdie. It's that we simply don't know how difficult it's going to be to make birdies on the golf course tomorrow. We don't know yet what the pin locations are. We don't know, exactly where the wind's coming from, all of that. We don't know exactly how firm the greens are, how firm the fairways are. Because we don't know, PrizePicks also doesn't know. And so if they're wrong, if they're half a birdie wrong on all of these players, well, guess what? They're going to get killed if people are stacking in one way, all taking the more than birdies. Or if they're wrong by half a birdie in the other direction, they're going to get killed by people just stacking less than birdies. So that's how they're correlated, even though their performance itself isn't correlated. It's the errors, the way the projections might be wrong is correlated. So we're going to stop at just these two, Tiger, Phil, more than 2.5 birdies. And then we're going to go over to the birdies or better matchups. Well, we've got a slew of them that I think really stand out to me. The first one being Wyndham Clark, more birdies than Matt Fitzpatrick. Now, we've got Wyndham projected for 0.8 strokes gained per round here at the Masters. Matt Fitzpatrick is down at 0.27. So you've got about half a stroke advantage per round for Wyndham Clark. But more importantly, Wyndham makes a ton of birdies. He's one of the longest hitters on tour. Of course, distance is a huge predictor of birdies. And the guy makes a ton of putts. He's streaky with his irons. He makes a lot of birdies, more birdies than you would expect for a player of his skill level. Fitzpatrick is the opposite. It's not that he's short off the tee, but he's not nearly as long. His iron play isn't nearly as good, so he gets fewer birdie opportunities. Fitzpatrick is the caliber of player he is because of his ability to scramble, because of his ability to turn would-be bogeys into par saves, things of that nature. So, if they both shoot 2 under, for example, we would expect Wyndham to have gone to 2 under with more birdies than Fitzpatrick. So you get the stroke advantage and you get the birdie maker advantage on Wyndham. So I really like this pick. Schauffele is the next one we're going to go to. And actually, I think you have to search Cantlay for this one. and we're going to choose less birdies for Patrick Cantlay than Xander Schauffele. This one's just a pure talent gap. Historically, these two players are pretty much the same caliber. This year, not at all. We've got Schauffele 1.3 strokes better per round right now. That's an enormous advantage. And I think PrizePicks is taking advantage here of the fact that a lot of people are playing PrizePicks this week that haven't been focusing a lot on this PGA Tour season. They just are making their picks based on name recognition, in which case Cantlay and Schauffele are pretty much the same player historically. Again, not the case this year. So fourth pick is going to be Cantlay, less birdies than Schauffele. Next, another guy who's kind of soared this season and a little bit of last season. Brian Harman has really come on strong. Tom Kim is going in the opposite direction. We now have Harman 0.9 strokes better per round than Tom Kim. So Harman, more birdies than Tom Kim is going to be the next one. Harman, by the way, somebody who's really turned on the birdie making skill as well. His iron play has improved, and we know very, very few players in the game roll the rock as well as Harman. So when he's got birdie opportunities, he tends to capitalize. Tom Kim's putter is the opposite. Even when he's giving himself opportunities, he might not make the birdies, but also his ball striking just as in general, including his iron play, has really fallen off this year. So it's going to be tougher for him to make as many birdies. And then finally, actually, I do have two more, but the next one I want to go to, our first live golfer sighting, Patrick Reed, more birdies than Nikolai Højgaard. Højgaard came on really strong early in the season, was playing some great golf. He's fallen off since. Part of that is his short game is really, really bad right now. We typically don't think of short game as being super important to birdie making. But again, the par fives, think about what I talked about earlier with the wind direction. They're all going to be a little tougher than we're used to seeing, which means those birdies aren't going to be made by a great drive in the middle of the fairway, second shot to the middle of the green, and a two-putt. It's more likely that your second shot, you're just hoping to get somewhere around the green, then hit a really good chip or pitch shot, maybe a good bunker shot to set yourself up for birdie. So short game might come more into play than we think for birdies. Patrick Reed as well. I think we've got him 0.8 strokes per round better than Højgaard. Reed's been pretty impressive of late over on Live, and he's always played well at Augusta, including the fact that he's won one time here. But the reason is he's a great course fit. His iron play is good, and his short game is phenomenal. So I like Patrick Reed quite a bit. And then that gives us our first six-pick play right there. And you can see, despite the fact that we have correlated with Tiger and Phil, we're still getting the standard 25x payout. That's why we're going to go here. Again, if I were to take that one off for Reed and I would go more on the 3.0 birdies, check that out. It falls to 22x. So that's why we're doing this the way we are. We want that full 25-1 payout. And then I did have one more. Let me remind myself. Oh, it's another live guy. It's another live guy, Tyrrell Hatton. Very similar, by the way, in skill to Patrick Reed. One of the ultimate grinders in the game. Yes, historically, he has said he's not a huge fan of Augusta National. I don't really care. He's played fine here in the past. And again, he's a really good fit. And importantly, Sungjae Im. Talk about a player who's struggling to find it this season. Very few people watching this have maybe watched golf closely enough this year to know what a player is doing in their swing. But here's a weird one. Sungjae, when he takes the club back, he looks at the club and then swings, refines the ball and hits. I don't know how anybody does that. It's not surprising at all to me that he struggled. That's the strangest decision I've ever seen in a swing change. And look, like that's shown up in his data. His iron play is the worst it's ever been in his career on the PGA Tour. He's not putting as well as we're accustomed to seeing. Really hard to make birdies that way. He also doesn't have anywhere near the length that Hatton has off the tee. So I like Hatton as well. You can mix Hatton in and get this 25x. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use, so we have the Tiger and Phil combination to start, and then we have 5 birdies or better matchup. You can just do a round robin in those matchups. Take 4 of the 5, do all 5 combinations of that with the Tiger and Phil pairing. And just like that, you've got 5 6-pick plays ready to go for round 1 at the Masters.
I love it, man. And especially those where you're giving me the insight on it. If you haven't been watching golf closely, and I haven't, that we're getting this extra insight here into these birdies or better matchups. I love it. if you'll allow me, let me sprinkle a couple NBA plays in here for today. Because again, maybe you have been tuned in to golf all season, right? Maybe you don't like all 6 of these, but you do want to get a 6er in there tonight. So I've got 4 I've got my eyes on here, Alex, and 7 games in the association tonight. A number of these teams are on the second end of a back-to-back. But the first one that stood out to me and our PrizePicks prop tool here for the NBA is in agreement. Daniel Gafford, more than 1.5 block shots here tonight. Now, I do have concerns any night with Daniel Gafford in terms of his foul trouble. And going up against Miami here tonight, both teams needing a win, 4 seeding here. There's certainly foul trouble on the horizon, but Daniel Gafford, that our FTN data model, almost 2.5 blocks in this one. So I love that more than 1.5, then a couple points props here. One more than on Kevin Durant. This is straight out of the tool. We've got him a hair over 28 points tonight. Second end of a back-to-back set in the same matchup. Get embarrassed last night by a short-handed Clippers team. I like KD more than 25.5 points here. And then conversely, Miles Bridges, Hornets, second end of a back-to-back here, going to Atlanta. Trae Young is back. So I like the less than 23.5 points there on Miles Bridges. So does the tool. It's got him around 20.5. And then I've got to get a fantasy score prop in there here on Wednesday morning. And this game will blow out. Okay, it will. I'm confident in that. Cavs and Grizzlies. Grizzlies on the second end of a back-to-back after losing to the Spurs last night. They have a G League team that actually might be in the mid standings. These guys are no good. So Donovan Mitchell, his fantasy score prop is down to 36.5, and all these guys are down a little bit because it's almost a 20-point spread. But that is still too low for me on Donovan Mitchell. So I like the more than as well on Spider. So there's 4 options for you if you want to get some NBA sprinkled in there with your PGA picks.
And it fits perfectly because we're starting with that Tiger and Phil pairing. So you've got 4 spots left. Birdie or better matchups, they can be difficult. And one of the difficulties with them is they do tie more often than most other picks, right? Like if you're taking let's go to one of these. If Kevin Durant was at 25.0 points, it's not going to tie very often. He's not going to land on exactly 25 very often. Whereas 2 golfers in a birdie or better matchup, they are going to make the same amount of birdies a decent amount of time, which is going to cut from 25-1 to 10-1, for example, if you go 5 for 5 with a tie. So if you want to have some extra, exposure to this Tiger and Phil pairing without those birdie or better matchups, which I do really love, but they're maybe a little bit tougher to go 6 for 6 without those ties. Just throw it in with your NBA plays, which again are hitting at 60.4% on the season. So this is phenomenal.
Yeah, I like it, man. And again, we're coming off last night. You're looking at Trace Jackson Davis needs 0.6 fantasy points in the last 7 minutes. Can't get it. That's how it goes sometimes, right? So how about, again, we talked about Underdog and the litany of offerings they have in terms of PGA right now. Why don't we hop over to Underdog and maybe talk through some of those options?
Yeah, let's do it. So we're going to start in a very similar way, of course. We're going to go and we're going to start with Tiger and Phil. So we mentioned the fact that they're at 3.0 birdies or better, but check this out. He's also a multiplier if you go to the lower on his 3.0 birdies, 1.1x for Tiger. We're going to add that in there. And now we're going to go to Phil. We're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to go lower on Phil's birdies. Now here, because of this multiplier, it goes to 3.06x instead of the standard 3.0, but it's also cutting that a little bit because of the correlation. So Underdog does immediately start to correlate. From here, we've got different options. We can try to find something that counteracts that correlation. So the way that you would do that is you'd say, all right, with these picks, with fewer birdies than 3 and fewer birdies than 3, we're betting on the course being difficult. So to counteract that, we would have to take somebody else to make more birdies. We'd have to take somebody else to hit more fairways than their projection, more greens than their projection, more fantasy points than their projection, anything like that we can counteract. So like, for example, if we went to Cam Smith and we said more than 3.5 birdies, instead of the standard 6.0x payout, we're getting 6.89x. So there are ways to counteract it. The other thing we could do though, is we could say, we've been afforded this multiplier. It's okay to have a little bit of extra correlation. If you recall, I said the average fairways hit per round at Augusta National is 9.5. This week, or I should say tomorrow, Thursday, we've got gusts of wind up to 35 miles per hour. A lot of them are crosswinds, which is going to make it really, really difficult to hit these fairways. So what we can do in this search bar, we can just type in fairways, and now check this out. We just get a list of every single player that they are offering fairways hit projections for. Shout out to Underdog, by the way. I mean, PrizePicks has given us birdies are better matchups, and strokes. Look at the list. I mean, let's just start at the top. Let's go to Tiger. Look how many things that you can take for Tiger Woods alone, or you could just search in fairways and look how many guys they're offering these for. It's phenomenal. They have gone above and beyond. And by the way, I also think in relation to the PrizePicks picks that we took, the more than 2.5 birdies on both Tiger and Phil, one of the reasons for that is just I happen to think that our friends at Underdog are pretty damn sharp. I think they're doing a really good job setting these projections for the most part. So if they think that these guys should be at 3.0, that makes me feel that much better about Tiger and Phil more than 2.5 over on PrizePicks. Yet another reason why it's so important to have access to both of these. Not only so you can play both sides of it like this and get some great expected value that way, but also because looking at what Underdog is doing can help your PrizePicks play. Looking at what PrizePicks is doing can help your Underdog play. So promo code FTN gets you 100% deposit match up to $100 on both sites. From there, let's look at these fairways. So again, the average is 9.5. We think it's going to be even harder than usual to hit fairways. So I just want to scroll through here, and I want to find guys that we think are less accurate than most. I can tell you from already doing some of this research, Sam Burns, one of the guys who he's not great in terms of accuracy off the tee. He's also long off the tee, which makes it a little bit harder to hit fairways. In this wind, I really like his lower. The standard for a 3-pick play on Underdog is 6.0. It drops to 5.77x here because of the correlation, but the correlation is strong. So the fact that we are getting something really close to the standard payout with all of this correlation and playing the middle on these Tiger and Phil picks, I love this as a 3-pick play. I'll take Sam Burns out, and I will add in who was the other guy that I added in? I think it was Cam Smith, maybe. Yeah, I think it was Cam Smith. Is he at 10.5 fairways? No, he's at 9.5. All right. I got to figure out who the other guy was. We'll drop that in the chat, but you can see what we're trying to do here, right? We're just trying to mix and match, and again, take advantage of this Tiger and Phil pairing and the fact that they are drastically different on DraftKings or on PrizePicks and Underdog. And the beautiful thing about that is not only can you play both sides of it, but you can do it while both sides are positively correlated with each other. It's just a phenomenal way to approach this.
I don't think I've ever been as excited for a first round at the Masters. I can't wait until you drop the rest of the picks into the Pick'em Games channel here at FTN. Alex, anything else you want to go through here before we sign off?
I don't think so. The only other thing I'll say, actually, this is a pretty important point. You can see Underdog does this, or Underdog already has these. PrizePicks often does them, so hopefully they'll add these by tomorrow morning. But like 13.0 holes 1 through 3 strokes. Right now, it's pretty tough for us to say how easy or difficult those holes are going to play. Again, we don't know exactly how firm the fairways are. We don't know exactly how firm the greens are. We don't know exactly where the pins are. So it's hard to say. When it's 10:30 a.m. Eastern tomorrow, and 8 to 10 groups have already played holes 1 through 3, something like that, we're going to have pretty strong data. And Underdog will probably be pretty good about it. They'll change it. PrizePicks might be slow to change these. They might be slow to adjust. Let's say the average on holes 1 through 3 is 14.5 through 6 groups. If you can go and find a 13.0 and just stack higher than, especially on PrizePicks, you're in really good shape, even if they're penalizing correlation. And the great thing on PrizePicks is typically, in fact, we might be able to, we can't because they don't have those up yet. But one thing you'll see for PrizePicks is like if you were to go to a 6-pick play, for example, earlier this season, it was at the Genesis. they offered 4.5 strokes on hole 17 alone. And if you tried to do a 6-pick play of all less than 4.5 on hole 17, your odds were, I think it was 13x. But if you did 4 of them, it only took it from 10 to 1 to 9.5 to 1. So you're getting all that correlation and you're barely getting penalized. I want to be on the lookout for that kind of thing on both Underdog and PrizePicks. So the live opportunities tomorrow morning are going to be fantastic. We'll be hanging out in the Pick'em channel Discord with our eyes open for that kind of opportunity because they don't come up very often, but when they do, it's an absolute gold mine.
I love it, man. Like I said, I cannot wait. So everybody listening, make sure you are in that Pick'em Games channel because we are going to be in there, not just tomorrow, right? All weekend. Really looking forward to the next 4 days here. Alex, anything else for you?
No, the only other thing I'll say is you mentioned it. We're going to be in the Pick'em Discord. We're going to be combining PGA plays with MLB plays, with NBA plays. It's going to be a blast. And we'll also just be, attacking all 4 rounds of the Masters in there. If all you care about is watching the Masters and you just want to try the Pick'em games for the first time solely because of your interest in watching Augusta National and this major championship play out, we'll have 6-pick plays. We'll have 5-pick plays on Underdog. We'll have 3-pick plays on Underdog. It's going to be a blast all week.
All right, everybody, that'll do it for us. But we are back tomorrow morning with another edition of the PrizePicks Prop Show. So we'll see you guys in that Pick'em Games channel. Good luck tonight, everybody.